Well, maybe we're starting to head into some more tempered weather. We're in late April, mid-April, I guess mid-April, I don't know, doesn't matter to me. And it's been cold and rainy and nasty more than it's not. We're still lighting the wood stove on a regular basis. I lit it this morning. It was 64 degrees now, so I lit a small fire. But today we're in the 80s. The wind's breezy. John Deere sitting over there looking all pretty. Things are starting to bloom. It's nice. Got plenty of sun, not any clouds in the sky. So making lots of electricity today. And when I say a lot of electricity, I truly do mean it. Carolyn asked if she could do 2 loads of laundry today. She wanted to get the winter blankets washed. She's changed the blankets on the bed, and so she wanted to get those washed. Well, normally we do 1 load a day, but she wanted to get both of them done because she thinks it's going to be cloudy tomorrow. Now my app said no, but there's no reason to risk it. If she wants to get them done and stored, by all means. So what I did, which I find is a little bit better than what I used to do. What I used to do is wait until she was done with the laundry, and then I would come over here and fill the IBC tank with the well. Well, as you know, I've had some, well, it's just an old well. And if I run it too long, the water level drops on it and it starts getting dirty, and I don't know. So what I have found is if I do that, I should at least fill, she uses 40 gallons per load. I should fill 20 gallons, shut it off, let it wait, fill back up, the well fill back up, and then fill the other 20 gallons. And then what I do is I run it real slow so I don't run out of water, because the well's recovery rate is like 5 gallons a minute and the pump is 13 gallons a minute. So you got to be careful and balance it all. It's, like I said, an old well. What I have found though is it's better if I run it fast with a shorter amount of time. So what I have been doing in the past is I turn this way down as low as I can get it, and the well pump would run forever, half hour, whatever, and then I would shut it off after 20 gallons, fill it up again. Well, today she wanted to run 80 gallons. Well, I've noticed, like in the more cloudy days, that if I turn it all the way on, full blast, and fill it in between each cycle of the wash machine, it's a lot easier. I don't use near as much electric, and I'm not at risk of running the well dry. The well can handle 10 gallons. I think there's 30 gallons in the pipe down there. It can handle 10 gallons without anything going wrong. It's 10 gallons per cycle. She runs 4 cycles, that's 40 gallons. So I just come out here 4 times, fill it up as fast as I can. It takes 2 or 3 minutes, shut it off, let the well fill back up while that cycle is running, agitating and draining, and then it fills back up. So then after it fills back up, I come back out here, turn it on, fill the IBC tank. It's a little bit extra work, but I have no risk of anything going wrong. And these are just lessons learned over time. It just works out better. So she wanted to do 2 loads, so that was 80 gallons. So I've been out and in 8 times, turn it on, let it fill up for a few seconds, shut it off. And it's just not that big of a deal. I know people think that you got to have everything in automatic mode. But like I've said, we're trying to get to a more primitive lifestyle, more primitive life, and sometimes that just entails a little bit more work. Now, I've traded in a full-time job with an employer in exchange for a little bit of freedom, but that means I have to work here. Of course, my YouTube channel brings in the revenue, and that is actually quite a bit of work, but regardless, I work around here so I don't have to work for an employer. It's quite freeing. Now, I want to kind of shift gears a little bit, but still can talk in relative terms of the water. I used to be a prepper. I've told you this maybe 20 years ago. I don't know if I called myself a prepper. I don't know what it was, but I just wanted to be prepared. I used to watch all those shows, Survivor Man and Naked and Afraid. Oh, I'm sure there was another one. I can't remember the title of it. Doomsday Preppers. That was another one. That's the one I was thinking of. And I watch them all. And so we would can food, and I had a couple solar panels. I just didn't have confidence that I was ready for SHTF. I didn't have confidence. There was two things I was sure I didn't have. And the thing is when you're a prepper, you since you know you can't have it, and you know you don't have it, you tell yourself, I'll obtain it after it happens. I'll worry about it after it happens. Well, I've now realized that worrying about it after SHTF happens is a terrible idea. You need to address it now. One of those issues was water, and the other issue was heat. We had an electric furnace. Grid goes down, we don't have heat. So here I have wood, firewood, and it's easy to get firewood. Even if I have to use an axe, I can get firewood. And so water was the other issue. We were on public water, public utilities. And I know a lot of people say, well, I got a well, I don't need to worry about it, I got a well. Well, the well still runs on electricity. I know, because I just did it. I have solar panels. My solar panels run my well. And today is a beautiful day to be running the well. I wish I could explain to you the pride I feel in being able to run a well, my well, every day, well, especially on days that it's real sunny, for as long as I want, for free, without any electric from the grid. It's like a new car. Every time I come out here, I feel that pride, like I just got a new car. I know that nobody understands it, but it really is a real thrill. So I don't prepare. I'm not here talking about SHTF, but I do try to counter the preppers. It is a big part of my channel because I think it's wrong to prep. I think it's a bad idea. I think that you're going to cause yourself more harm than good. And the reason you're going to cause yourself more harm is because you're spending money hand over fist trying to prepare for something that you're not going to survive more than a few weeks anyways. And for a lot of reasons. There's a lot of reasons you're not going to survive. I watched a video today, they talked about medication. If you don't have a stockpile of medication and you die because you don't have your medication, then what was the point in spending all that money on prepping supplies? You're going to die anyway. So I've tried to counter that with, we live pretty healthy lives here, have a carnivorous diet. I'm trying to get healthier all the time. But in the end, I'm not spending all kinds of money either. So if I die, it really doesn't matter. The way I look at it is primitive man probably didn't live much more than their 30s. So when you get into your 50s, you're kind of relying on society to take care of you anyways. You always say try to be self-sustaining. But cough medicines and Tylenol and whatever. We're still dependent on our health by society. Whereas primitive man, they were all very young. So if I'm able to survive any amount of time after SHTF, it's a bonus for me. I'm already old. I'm already past that 30-year mark. So it's a good point. You gotta stockpile your medications and try to get healthy. You're not going to survive, and you shouldn't even worry about it. You shouldn't be spending thousands and thousands of dollars on stockpile if you're not going to make it more than a few months anyways, because you're going to run out of medication. So get healthy. That's the best I can tell you, is get healthy. But what I will do if SHTF were ever to happen, my only concern now, I was telling you about my concern, was heat and water back in 20 years ago. Well, my only concern now, and it should have been my concern back then, I don't know why it wasn't, I guess because we raised a garden, but that was ridiculous. You would need acres and acres of food in order to have enough to be sustained by a garden. So it was a ridiculous idea. But now I think I could actually make it for at least a little while on food. So we have canned food, and that's not a stockpile, that's just You know, we can our food. We can our chickens and meats and different things. We only eat meat. We don't eat vegetables. So we would be able to live off that for a while. Now we have a freezer. The problem with the freezer, it does use a lot of electricity. And so like on cloudy days, I have to run the generator just to keep that freezer running. So what I would do is empty the freezer and I would can all that meat. That way I won't have to run the generator at all during SHTF. Everything would get canned. And then what I would do is I would start incubating chicken eggs. Now right now we have a rooster that won't mate with our chickens, except for 3. He mates with 3. I would immediately isolate those 3 hens and the rooster. I would put them in a separate area and I would start collecting those 3 eggs and start incubating immediately. It takes 3 weeks for eggs to incubate. And then it would just be a constant assembly line of chickens, just one after another after another. And as soon as they were old enough to butcher, I would butcher them. We could probably, the incubator holds 21 eggs. We could probably get 15 out of each batch, plus the eggs. You know, we might keep some for the eggs. And eggs are just awesome nutritional value. So that might even be what we do. Now, as far as feeding the chickens, that would be a little bit more complicated. Of course, we'd start growing sunflower seeds for the protein. But then we would have to let them free range. Now that's dangerous, extremely dangerous, because we have so many eagles around here. The chickens are pretty smart though. They don't roam away. We've let them out before. They don't roam away from the chicken run too terribly far. That way if there's an eagle, the rooster will make a noise and it's just a little chirp, just a burp. That's all he does. And all the hens run back into the chicken run, keeping that eagle from eating them. So we'd let them free range, eat the grass, eat the bugs. In the wintertime, it would be a little bit more difficult, but there's still plenty of grass they can eat. And it would just be a constant cycle of chickens. Now, that does take electricity because the incubator takes 60 watts, and then we have to have this little heater that takes 30 watts. I think we can run it if we didn't have the freezer. I think we'd be fine. The only downside would be trying to run the incubator and that heater at the same time. But I think we could do it. So I feel like we have everything in place. The problem I see with preppers is they stockpile nonstop and they never, ever, ever test themselves. They never modify their systems. Once they think their plan is in place, that's all they got is a plan that's never been tested. This well has been a 3-year nightmare. I mean, I finally got it working and it's working great. And it's running off solar panels. Now, when I first had it, I only ran it off a generator. Once again, there's no way I could survive just running the well off the generator. But now I got it running off the solar panels. I'd have water all the time, and I really would never have to run it off the generator. This is a propane generator, and that's kind of an advantage because propane lasts forever. So if SHTF were to happen, you'd have to start doing some sneaky operations. You know, abandoned houses would be around. Surely there's a barbecue grill in the back at an abandoned house. You grab the propane tank. But I don't have to run it anymore. So in the past, when I was thinking about SHTF and okay, I'll take care of that after SHTF, it essentially meant that I had to go around stealing things from abandoned houses. So what I've done is downsize my life, got down to the bare minimums, and now I think I have a genuine plan on how to survive. But I test it all the time. For example, I used to fill the tank after she was done with laundry. I've learned that's just not the best way to go. It's a lot better, easier, uses less electricity to run the well in between cycles with this open full blast. So if you're not testing, how will you ever learn that? It's a bad time to test after SHTF, especially when you're deadly sick because you don't have your medications. I think the only way, if you're really worried about SHTF, to survive SHTF is stop listening to the preppers. They just want you to spend money. And the best thing to do is shut off your breaker. If you shut off your breaker, you know, your main switch on your breaker box, and try to figure out what you got to do from that point forward. If something goes wrong, you can simply turn the breaker back on, fix your problem, and shut it back off. Shut off your water. Figure out how you're going to survive without water. It's just a better option. That means, and what you will learn is, instead of buying things, you will start downsizing things, getting rid of things, getting things that you don't need. The only thing Carolyn and I need is food, water, shelter, and defense. And once you have that established, and you can live on that daily, then you know you should be able to survive SHTF. So if you'll click this up next box, it'll take you to a video where I was talking about the ATF's at it again. So if you'll click this up, so I hope I can inspire you to downsize your lives so you can live your dreams. Thanks for watching.